There is a silence that is not empty, a silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper, something sacred, something alive. And the moment you learn to let that silence speak, everything in your life begins to shift. Most people run from silence. They try to drown it with noise, conversations, music, scrolling, constant thinking, constant distractions. Not because they don't want peace, but because silence forces them to meet themselves. And for many people, that is the hardest thing to do. But silence is not your enemy. Silence is your doorway. It is your medicine, your teacher, your sanctuary, your inner home. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when outer answers stop working. Advice doesn't help. Logic doesn't help. Trying harder doesn't help. And life gently pushes you inward into the stillness where real truth is waiting. When you let silence speak, the noise inside you begins to fall away. The fear, the anxiety, the overthinking, the pressure, and slowly, something else rises, a calm knowing, a quiet clarity, a presence that feels wiser than your mind and closer than your breath. This is why mystics like Joel Goldsmith sat in silence, not to escape life, but to enter the deeper life beneath the surface, because God rarely speaks over the noise. He speaks underneath it, in the stillness, in the breath, in the spaces between your thoughts. There was a man named Richard from Boston whose life was falling apart. His business was collapsing. His marriage was shaking. His anxiety was suffocating. He said, "I can't hear myself anymore." One morning, overwhelmed, he drove to a lake before sunrise. He left his phone in the car. He sat on a rock by the water and closed his eyes. At first, the silence scared him. It felt unfamiliar, uncomfortable. But as the minutes passed, something inside him softened. He later said, "In that silence, I heard something I hadn't heard in years myself. In that quiet, he realized the decision he needed to make for his business. He understood the apology he owed his wife. He remembered who he was. His life didn't change because he thought harder. It changed because he stopped thinking long enough for God to whisper. Silence is not a void. Silence is full. It holds wisdom, direction, healing, and presence. But noise hides it. The ego speaks loudly. Fear speaks loudly. The world speaks loudly. But God speaks quietly. Not because he is far away, but because his voice is subtle, felt, not shouted. Known, not heard. You cannot hear guidance when your mind is screaming. You cannot feel peace when your thoughts are racing. You cannot receive clarity when you are forcing outcomes. Silence is where your soul rearranges itself. Silence is where clarity rises on its own. Silence is where the heart understands what the mind cannot. There was a woman named Amy from Colorado who lost her husband unexpectedly. Her world shattered. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't breathe. Every memory was loud. Every thought was heavy. One night, overwhelmed, she turned off all the lights, sat on the floor, and closed her eyes. She didn't pray with words. She didn't ask for anything. She just sat in the quiet, and slowly, she felt something rise within her. Not an answer. Not an explanation. Just presence. Warm, gentle, loving presence. She said, "In silence, I realized I wasn't going through grief alone. God was inside the grief with me." That moment didn't remove her pain, but it transformed her healing. She didn't feel abandoned anymore. She felt accompanied. Silence didn't fix everything. It held her through everything. When you let silence speak, your thoughts soften. Your emotions settle. Your breathing deepens. Your intuition awakens. Your spirit becomes louder than your fear. This is not imagination. It is spiritual truth. There is a place inside you untouched by chaos, untouched by fear, untouched by your past. A place where God lives as your very being. Silence is how you enter it. Not through chanting. not through ritual, not through trying to be spiritual, just through being still. Stillness is your original nature. Silence is your real home. And when you return to it, you return to yourself. There was a teenage girl named Madison from California who battled severe anxiety. Her mind was loud with self-criticism. I'm not enough. I'm a disappointment. No one understands me. Her school counselor taught her one practice. Sit in silence for 5 minutes every morning. No expectations, no goals, no pressure. Just breathe and be still. At first, her mind screamed louder. But after 2 weeks, she started noticing something. Tiny moments of calm between thoughts. Then moments of warmth. Then moments of peace that felt unfamiliar but safe. She said, I didn't find silence. Silence found me. Her anxiety didn't disappear overnight, but her relationship with herself changed. She stopped fighting her mind and started listening to her soul. Silence changes everything because silence is where God guides you, grace reaches you, healing touches you. Intuition becomes clear. Your soul becomes louder than your fear. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to think your way into healing. Silence is where the Spirit takes over. The prophets, the saints, the mystics, all of them sought silence. Not because they were avoiding life, but because they knew that the deepest truth is always spoken in stillness. So if your mind feels loud, if your heart feels tired, if you feel disconnected from yourself, this is not failure. This is an invitation to return to the quiet place within you, not the silence of loneliness, but the silence of presence, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of fullness, not the silence of absence, but the silence where God speaks. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let the noise fall away, because the guidance you've been seeking, the peace you've been praying for, the clarity you've been begging for, is already inside you, waiting in the silence. Let silence speak, and everything in your life will begin to shift.